This is video 2 of Color Lab 1, and in this video we are going to be doing a couple of exercises about value. Value is the lightness or darkness of a color, and so value plays a big part in color theory. The first exercise is to get familiar with controlling the pressure of your pencil by mimicking the value scale and coloring in the boxes to try and match based on the pressure of the pencil on the paper. The first box is always white, because to get a full range of values you need white to black. So that's a get out of jail free card. Next one is the lightest gray, and I am going to try by hatching across the box to fill in a tone that might match the sample above it. I'm using very light pressure, and some of the white is still showing through because there is a lot of white in this mixture of black and white. I'm going to move to the next one and press just a tiny bit harder. And the nice thing about pencil is if it becomes too dark, I can always erase some of it or blend some of it. Next one is a little bit darker. And when we get to the darker shades, we might have to use cross-hatching, which is the hatching in one direction, and then going over the entire piece. I'm going to turn this around for the moment, and I can deepen the tone by adding another layer. So it's a matter of applying more and more pressure to get more of the black out of the pencil and adding layers of tone so that the color becomes deeper until you get to black. I'm going to crosshatch on this one again. And it's more important to just have a progression of tones than exactly matching the tones, just to give you an idea, because every pencil is different, and even though this is a basic number 2 pencil, it might have a different type of graphite material in it from a different source. And it's just a matter of getting a range so that you can see that progression from white to black. What might happen towards the end, even though I probably could push dark enough, I'm going to jump to here, I am pushing quite dark, and I can get a deep tone for the black, but I'm also resorting to my colored pencil, which has a softer pigment than the pencil, the number 2 pencil, and I am going to use this. So if you find this a little bit easier, this would be one of the techniques to use to get your deepest black. Again, I'm going to cross hatch. And in this case, in order to get the deepest black, you cannot see, or you shouldn't see, any of the white paper underneath, because it's completely obliterated. That's not always so easy. It takes a little patience. I can see myself even as I'm trying to fill it in with the colored pencil. And that's how I would fill out the value scale. I'd like to make another suggestion for filling out the grids that I have made templates for. If you would prefer to build these more permanently into your sketchbook, you can glue them in, or you can make your own grid by taking a ruler. This ruler is about 1.25 inches thick and 15 inches long, and I'm just going to go across the page along the top and the bottom of the grid. Next, I'm going to mark off at inch points. Until I get up to 10 boxes. And that fits nicely across the page. And then I would take a ruler and bring these marks down to make the boxes. And you can build your grids right into your sketchbook if you like, with not too much trouble and just a ruler as your tool. This end would not be needed, and this end would not be needed. So the next thing I would like to show you is what I did with another copy, an additional copy of the value scale. I cut it at this point and have left just the top portion of the paper. And the reason I did that is because I am going to mimic a tool I have, and I've had it for a long time, that is a value finder. And what it does is allow you to place the value finder over a color and see which tone matches most closely to that color. With some holes punched in, it's easy enough to make ourselves. So I'm going to take a regular hole punch, and I am going to punch a hole in each of these . The reason I cut the bottom of the page off is because I would like to be able to easily lay it over the color wheel and not have the rest of the paper in the way. So I'm going to move this around and just show you some of the real differences in the value of pure use. For example, yellow might be the third value here. Looks like the best one. And yellow-orange might be the fourth one. And this isn't an exact science. It's your eye looking closely at it and determining for yourself what you think. Orange might be the fifth one. Or let's see. Red might be the fifth one. And you'll see as you go around the color wheel, the pure hues get darker and darker till we have finally, actually, number 8 is violet. Number 7 looks like a good match for pure hue blue. And then it lightens up again as we go around toward the green and lighter green. And in one of the future exercises, you will start to understand why this is important to know. So yellow-green is probably a 3. So also, if you like, you can put numbers on these. so that you can identify the color by number. And maybe even make a notation on here if you think this yellow is a 3. Just like that. So you could fill out the whole color wheel if you like, and have that as reference as well. So the next exercise has to do with the value of color, and it is very important that you can identify how light or dark a color is from the original color, and let your eye get used to those variations. I decided to choose red because I know red is in the middle range of values, and I'm going to put my scale on it, and it's somewhere between 5 and 6. I'm going to say 5.5. This is going to be red. You can choose any 3 colors you want, and each row is going to be a range of values for that particular color. I chose red because it was mid-range. I chose yellow and some pencils that looked like deeper tones of yellow for a yellow band here. And yellow, as we said, was 3. So I am going to put 3 there. This is 5.5. And then violet. And we decided violet was an 8 in its purest hue, violet. Just to give you that range and let you see how these colors are different even in their pure hues. So I have pulled out any pencils that I thought might work to help me fill in the grid. Yellow had more options than the others. And also black and white in case I want to really tone down a color or deepen it and not have to work too hard on it. I've also taken out some of my fabric swatches to add to the boxes that would not be available in the pencils if I choose to, and save myself the trouble of coloring them in. So I have 2 reds here that are in the shades of red, and I have 2 purples that are slightly different than the purple pencils here. And let's see if I can move that up so you can see that. And then again, black and white. So I'm going to start with white. And I'm going to do that because if I press hard enough on this pink pencil, I might get a color that is not a 1 on the value scale. So I'm going to start with white and lay down a bit of hatching and then go over it with pink, so I get the lightest possible pink I can get to start off this grid. And if I lay this over, that's pretty much almost white. Now I'm going to put the pink here in its full force. And that looks pretty close to a 2, maybe a little darker even, because there's a big jump between 1 and 2. Now I'm going to put the pink in again. I'm going to press a little harder, see if I can get every bit of pigment out of this pencil on one try. You can see I have a darker area there, but that's okay. Could always do a little erasing if I have to. And that'll be 3. That looks good. Now I'm really going to press hard, and I am going to cross hatch against this first layer to make it even darker. So I have to bring it up a notch to the number 4 gray. That's still a little light. But you can see there is a progression, so it's okay in the scheme of making a value scale for color in colored pencil. Next, I am going to put down a nice layer of pink again for number 5. Right now these two are very close together, and I don't think I can expect more out of this pencil than I'm getting right now. So I am going to lightly go over this box with red. I might even blend it in a little bit. You can see this red is looking a little orange, and so I'm going to take the pink pencil and blend it with quite a bit of pressure to get it to be just a slightly darker pink. I stopped here to look in my pencil collection to see if there were a red that was less orange, because this red is showing up this pink is showing up very, very orange. So I did actually pull the more red-orange as my red pencil, just glancing at them quickly, but I am going to redo this box with the correct red, the red that was placed on the color wheel. Just have to get rid of some of it's waxy. Get rid of some of the layers of that red. I just wanted to bring it back to a more similar pink to the one before it, and now I will just gently add some of this. It's called deep vermilion, but that's a relative name to what the red really is. So obviously be careful which pencils you pick and make sure they align with the ones you used on the color wheel, and because they do make a difference. And this one you can see just doesn't have as much of an orangey cast. Now we've designated red as 5.5, so I'm going to use this pencil to give me, in this box, this is actually the number 6 box, the red that is the pure U on the color wheel. Now I'm going to start darkening the red as I go up to number 10. I'm going to take a few layers. I do not think I can get more out of this pencil to change the value with full pressure. So what I'm going to have to do is add some black. And I'm going to do that because these are almost identical. I'm going to do that very carefully so that I don't darken it too much. And then I'm going to go over that with a little more red to blend it, because it really doesn't work well blending with my finger. And this should be close to a 6 or a 7 here at this point. That's not dark enough. Just play around with it till it looks like what you think it should look like, comparing it with your eye to the value chart. This may be a little bit darker. Okay, so now I have these two pieces of darker fabric that I'm going to use as values for part of the rest of the strip here of red. I'm going to take a fabric scissor and cut a swatch that might fit in the box and compare it to 8, 9, or 10. It's an 8, so that would go in this box. I'll do a smaller piece, and I would glue that down. I'm going to do the next one, which let's see if that's, it's a 9. So that will go in this box. And that leaves me with either finding a piece of paper that is the darkest red I can find, or using a piece of fabric like this and coloring over it with some black to make it darker. Those are my two alternatives, because I am sure there is a darker red in the shadows of red than this 9th one. So I could do something like that, or I can go to one of the magazines and try to find a swatch of paper to glue down on there, and when you're satisfied with that, glue them down. I am now going to go back because this looks a little light as a jump from the pink to the red. So I'm going to deepen this one a little bit. And even leaving the project for a bit and coming back, you might see some discrepancies, and I'm going to just check and see if this is a 5 now. That's pretty good. 4 is a little light, so I'm going to put a light coat of red on this one. And don't rush through this, because the more you look at color, I know I've said this before, the more familiar you'll get with color, and the more your eye will be more discerning about how a color looks. As in the case of putting a red-orange pencil, I knew that was way too orange, and I had to go back to the next best choice I had, which is the regular red. So and take your time getting through it. You can also build the grid on your sketchbook if you like. Put 3, as I've done in this case. I had done 2 in watercolor and 1, and this is for a lesson coming up. But otherwise you can work directly on the template and later glue it into the book if you find it has worked out well for you and serves as a good sample. As a follow-up, I wanted to show you that I completed the first row of the red value grid, and I decided that the red that I used to blend with black to make a slightly darker red wasn't deep enough, and I found something in a magazine. I use pages like these that have a range of colors, the shadows of red and the lighter parts of red, and I found a piece for that, and it really is quite a bit darker than the sample I had colored in. I used 2 fabrics for these 2 pieces, and I determined that by putting the value scale over it, and this really matches number 9 well. And so I went about looking for a deeper red, which in this case tends a bit towards violet or brown, but it was from this part of the paper, so I can pretty safely say that that would be considered a dark red. You're going to continue with the next 2 rows in the colors of your choice, and for yellow, which is my second row, I am going to put the full pressure of the yellow pencil in the 3rd box because we had determined that to be a number 3 value. Once you've done that, work up and down to get the lighter values and the darker values. And again, you can use fabric or paper if you have a problem getting all the colors out of your colored pencils. As for violet, we're going to see as we put the chart over the color wheel that the full strength violet is a number 8, and we mark that there. And so I am going to set up violet with its pure hue at this end. And what this shows you is that pure hues are not all the same value. A color is either lighter or darker in its true nature. It is really an important fact to know about color as we proceed with the other exercises.